No, no, no. You're not leaving me. You can't go.
Welcome back to another video, where today we're going to be discussing Season 1 of Tell Me Your Secrets. More specifically, we're going to be talking about the finale and explaining the ending in case any of you got a bit lost in the whirlwind. Don't worry, it took us a while to wrap our heads around it too. So, if you're interested in finding out exactly what happened, stick around. First off, remember to subscribe to our channel to see future videos like this. Don't forget to turn on notifications either, or else you might miss out on something good. Now, let's get into the video. First of all, what is Tell Me Your Secrets? As I'm sure you're aware, Tell Me Your Secrets is an American thriller drama that follows the lives of a trio of characters plagued by their own pasts. The premise follows Emma, a woman who is tied to a dangerous killer, and John, a former serial predator who is racked with guilt for what he's done. And lastly, Mary, a grieving mother who can't come to terms with the loss of her missing daughter. Throughout the season, each of them is repeatedly pushed to their limits as the truth about their past catches up with them. As the show progresses, the motives of these three struggling people become less and less clear and begin to blend the line between victim and predator. The show becomes a more and more twisted mystery as we get to know these characters and the way torment has shaped their lives and actions. It's an incredibly gripping concept for a show that's left us, alongside all of you, hooked in for 10 suspenseful episodes. After originally airing on TNT and Amazon Prime on the 19th of February this year, Tell Me Your Secrets has captured an impressive fan base that is patiently waiting for the premiere of Season 2, especially after the cliffhanger we were left on in this Season 1 finale. But seeing as Season 2 hasn't yet been given the green light, we've been binge-watching Season 1 until we finally understood the ending properly. However, if you don't have time or the desire to do that, we've got your back. So, what happened in the rest of Season 1? Season 1 saw Mary tirelessly trying to get to the bottom of her daughter, Theresa's disappearance, no matter what she might find and no matter what she has to do to find out. Alongside Mary, we meet Karen, who is serving time after being involved with the man, Kit, presumed to have hurt Mary's daughter. The show begins with Mary confronting Karen, but the attempt is futile, as Karen has some form of amnesia relating to the event. Mary is convinced she's going to be able to get to the bottom of this regardless, and has even set up a foundation to find Theresa. Her willingness to not let go has driven her and her husband apart, but she still won't relent until she finds the truth, for better or for worse. We then see Karen being released into the custody of parole officer Pete, whom Karen doesn't trust, and see that she's had her name changed to Emma to keep her from danger. It's then through Mary's foundation that we meet John, a formerly convicted rapist that is hoping to repent for his sins by using his unique knowledge to help find Theresa. Instead, Mary ends up recruiting him to find Emma, in hopes she can finally get a confession from her. Unfortunately, John quickly falls back into his dark ways while on his assignment. Karen, now Emma, is residing in a small town and is struggling to come to terms with her past, having blocked lots of it out in her mind. This means not only do we have no idea what's going on for most of the season, but it means that we're not going to find it out until Karen's floodgates break open and she acknowledges what she might have done. As she acknowledges to acclimate to her new surroundings, Karen witnesses two girls having an altercation in the bathroom of a restaurant. One, Rose, is harassing the other, Jess, and Karen ends up smashing Rose's head into the mirror. The act makes her and Jess fast friends. Meanwhile, there are several disappearances of young schoolgirls in the new town Karen lives in. Mary is convinced Karen is involved, and we have no idea whether she is or not. On top of this, Karen finds her newly made friend, Jess, dead in a swamp, and is under the impression that she could have helped her had she not been high and tripping out. She distinctly recalls Jess banging on her trailer door asking for help. However, when she returns to the crime scene with Pete, the body is gone, which leads Pete to believe she is just projecting her feelings of confusion onto Jess. Karen later learns that Pete was a psychiatrist, but has since had his license revoked for inappropriate behavior. She finds information tying him to a foster center, St. Germain's, and worries his crimes were sexual in nature and stays wary of him. Thankfully, as the show progresses, we find out Pete was only in trouble for becoming close to a 16-year-old girl that lived in the home when he was in his early 20s. He lost his license because he let the girl stay in his home when she ran away, and flash forward all those years later, she's his current wife. Despite this, we spend a good few episodes believing that Pete has as dark a past as John and might cause Karen harm. We then discover that a young girl Karen encounters, Freya, is actually her daughter, though we're not sure how they've ended up separated from each other. Throughout, we are given small hints at Karen's past and what she might have done, as the show strongly hints toward the fact that she hurt, maybe even murdered, Theresa. She starts to have flashbacks of her hurting both Jess and Theresa, but she's still confused. Karen starts to block the truth out, leaving us in the dark. Everything begins to pile up with more and more questions and very few answers. One answer we do get, however, comes from Lisa, Pete's wife, as she admits to Karen that there's an attic in St. Germain's foster home where some of the girls had their eggs taken from, making many of them infertile. These cruel acts are committed by the father of Rose, whom Karen has had a rocky relationship with since meeting. While Karen is investigating St. Germain, John calls Mary and says that Karen deserves to suffer. Mary desperately tries to find out where he is so he can put a stop to him, perhaps finally realizing that the loss of her daughter has turned her into a monster. Or maybe she wants to deliver the blows herself. In an intense spin of events, John ends up tricking Karen into inviting him back to her cabin. Here, he admits he's raped 14 women and has only been caught for 2. He grows violent with her, demanding to know what happened to Theresa. As this is happening, Karen finally remembers the truth and realizes she smashed Theresa with a rock in self-defense when Theresa attempted to harm her after she'd gone into labor. All of these lead up to the season finale. The finale begins with John tying Karen up and demanding to know everything. Deranged from the misleadings of Mary, John believes Karen to be a terrible person and shows no restraint when trying to get the information from her, eventually knocking her out. Mary finally shows up and attempts to free Karen from John's clutches, but ends up being seen by John. The two struggle and Mary ends up shooting him in the stomach with a handgun. He still struggles with Mary though, leading Karen to bash his head in repeatedly. The two women are now facing each other head on, and Mary points a gun to Karen's face as the latter desperately tries to explain the truth she now remembers. She tells her that it was Theresa who was the monster, and that she acted out the murders with Kit because she was desperately in love with him. She even tried to take Karen and her baby out of the picture. Mary refuses to believe the truth about her daughter. Driven mad by the entire ordeal, she fires a warning shot as she remembers sending Theresa repeatedly to swimming lessons with her abuser, discovering the root to all of this mayhem. Eventually, Karen manages to escape and frees her officer boyfriend Tom, whom John had previously knocked unconscious and locked up in the motel to keep out of the way. Here, we discover that Rose was the one that killed Jess to protect her father, and that all of the other missing teen girls ended up being killed by the man in his religious experiments. Meanwhile, Mary holds a public press conference and lies profusely about what happened. She claims Karen attacked her after she admitted to all of the murders and sends everyone on a witch hunt for her, disclosing her new name and location. She then goes home and invites the swim coach, Theresa's abuser, into her home. Karen tries to pick up her daughter, Freya, and take back custody of her after the relief of finding out that she had no involvement in any of the crimes. However, apparently, Karen has already picked Freya up, and the episode ends with Theresa, who is revealed to still be alive, driving off with Freya and a hammer in the back seat. So what does all of this mean? The season finale answered many questions we've been asking since the very start. We finally know that Karen is innocent and has no relation to any of the crimes. Her only crime was falling in love with a predator and falling pregnant by him. She didn't block out the events of what happened because she was responsible, she blocked them out because she was traumatized. Meanwhile, Mary's attempt at using a monster to find a monster backfired on her, as it only gave John more opportunity to do the unthinkable. Her witch hunt after Karen also turned her into more of a monster than any of the other characters and led her to do some terrible things, including murder throughout the show. She's no better than Bodhi, Rose, John, Kit, or her monstrous daughter, Theresa. Not to mention, we don't know what happened after she invited Theresa's abuser into her home. In fact, The only character that is anywhere close to innocent is the one we've been led to not trust from the start, Karen. Even Pete and Lisa know about the fertility experiments and didn't do anything to stop them. All of this takes us to the huge cliffhanger of Theresa not only being alive still, but also being in possession of young Freya. Who knows what happened with that, or what cruel actions Mary and John, who somehow survived his head bashing, might commit in the next season. We can't wait to find out. That's everything we've got for you today, but we'll see you soon for another video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications as well. See you next time.